Welcome to The Worst with Chad Austin. Today I have with me a good friend of mine, Joe Brooke.
Hi.
Joe's the man. Joe's here with me today. We've known each other for quite a while now. And, I just want to start this off today before I even let Joe speak by saying I haven't lived in this city long enough to be jaded by it yet. And I still on my drives home, because I drive down Highland, which is a very busy street in LA. I get to see some of the best shit ever. And because I feel like it's also because of the type of person that I am. I'm not, unless I'm in this, type of area, I'm not the most talkative person. I'm more of an observer. So I really do. I pay attention to everything around me. And, man, I just get to see the coolest shit on my drives home. And I just think, man, I love living in this city. And the other day on my way to work, I saw one of the best things I've ever seen.
Go on.
I'm driving to work, and I'm on Highland. And there's this coffee shop on the corner of Highland and I think D. Longoria, I don't know, side street that no one really cares about. And it's called Black Canvas Coffee. And I look over and I'm kind of just like panning the street, and I just see all of these people standing on the patio of this coffee shop with like looks of terror on their face. And as I pan over closer to the intersection, there is just a homeless dude with his pants down to his knees with his full dick out, and he's doing the side to side motion where it's just whipping back and forth.
The old windshield wiper.
The old windshield wiper. And there is right dead in front of him is like at the very front of the patio where you enter the area is this table of 3 white women that are just like absolutely mortified. And then some big ass bro dude comes out, starts screaming something at him, and the dude just flees with it, like runs with his pants around his knees, starts
duck
running.
Walk all the way down. Oh, that's amazing.
And I just thought, man, I don't, we had homeless in Palm Springs, but not to this extent. And it's just something that I love to see.
Yeah, we actually at the end of our street, we've got a gate at the end of our street. We're in the mid city, and there's a church on our corner, and there's this little like eddy between Pico, basically, and where the gate is, and so that's usually like a collecting point for, the occasional tent or someone needs to sleep off the night before. And this one time, we had this, I assume, homeless gentleman or someone who just really needed to drop a deuce, very conveniently outside of our house, not directly outside of our house, but my wife, she was getting in the car to go to work once, and she caught him in the act. And it was like, have you ever seen like a goose take a shit, which is like it just like falls out? She was honking at the dude, like stop, like he's already in the act.
No,
like,
yeah,
honking the horn's not going to stop.
No, dude. You can't do that to anybody like mid shit.
No. Yeah, you can't hold on to it. It's like having to stop a pee midstream. You're like, that's painful.
It's painful. And that shit has already decided it's coming out.
Yeah.
Like there's been times in the car where it's like, hey, I'm ready. And you just have to make that split decision of, is this bathroom that I'm about to pull into at AM PM too disgusting for me to do this? Or am I going to shit my pants and drive home and take a shower?
It's the same question as how deep is your love? Like, how bad do you need it? How bad do you need it? And I also just remembered one of my awful stories for later.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Thank you for that.
All right, yeah, absolutely. That's what I do here. I make memories come back and make people relive trauma, and
haunting, yeah.
It's fun for me, and I just drag other people into it.
No, it's good. Free therapy.
But another thing that I saw on my way home from work the other day, which also just made me go, man, I love this city, was there was this homeless dude, and he was standing on the corner, and he only had one arm, and he was wearing a pink dress, and he was trying to zip up his dress. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody try to zip up a dress. Usually there's one hand to support it and the other hand pulls it up. Mm-hmm. And I could just see the nub working. Well, but
he did it.
He did it. Like I was setting it, it's LA traffic. I sat at that light long enough for him to complete it. And I was very impressed. And I was just like, only here would somebody do that as a show on a street corner. He could have gone around the corner, zipped up his dress on his own.
Nah.
No, that was a street corner show. He was doing a performance piece for everybody that had to just sit there in traffic. And I thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, to be able to do that without having to pull out the dick as a last resort. That's showmanship.
Dude, showmanship at its finest. So hey, I've been asking everybody because most people, I've seen you a few times, which I'm grateful for.
In the biblical sense.
Yeah. But most people that I see when I do this show is I haven't seen them in over a year since pandemic started. You know, I haven't been able to go to their bars late night after work. I haven't been, you know, just anything, you know. So it was always just like, hey, how did the Pandy treat you? Like, you know, what were the woes? What were the positives? Were there any positives? And right before mics went hot, we were talking about our children being in school during pandemic time. And I think, if I can remember correctly, you might be my first guest with a child.
That they know of.
That they know of. And because of that, like, I actually have something, I'm not just bitching about my kid.
We can bitch together.
We can bitch together.
Exactly. This is where the therapy starts.
Where it's just like, oh my fucking God.
No, the perfect world, dads would just sit there and look at each other and just not fucking talk. Right?
No, yeah,
just, like,
because
let the steam rise off our desiccated corpses.
Because that's exactly how I feel sometimes. Now, how did pandemic school treat your child? And how did it treat you too?
Those are two very different beers.
Yes.
We were fortunate because he's 6. When pandemic hit, he had only spent 3/4 of a school year in the classroom because he was in TK.
Oh, okay.
So in one way, we were super glad because he didn't know enough about what he was missing to really get upset by it. But we also knew that the most important thing for him as a kid, a little boy who's very much a little boy and has all sorts of, he's a wonderful kid, but you know, he's self-regulation, all that stuff that like doesn't come to dudes until we're like fucking 40.
Yeah.
We wanted him to be in a classroom setting so he could be with kids and like get pushed around and see what it feels like to have to like, you know, fight for a toy because he doesn't have a sibling. And so there were, you know, we were trying to figure out ways to like augment it so that he could do all that social stuff. But it really just ended up as us like jumping on the trampoline with him and basically just doing all the work.
I just honestly, when you were talking about that, I just pictured like you walking into the room and just pushing him over and be like, it's my fucking toy. Just like teaching him the life lessons that he should have learned in class.
Let's just say that the one of the things you can say about parenting is that you want to put to bed as many of the demons as you were given in life.
Yeah, yeah.
So that you don't pass them on to the kid. And I realized that, well, first off, I'm medicated now. That's the one thing the pandemic gave me. But I realized that like his impatience mirrors my own. I'm like, why are you? I cooked you lunch. What? And then I realized like, oh, I'm totally throwing gas on the fire. So it's been a real learning experience for everyone involved.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I've being Josie being home more often with the whole pandemic thing, and me being home because that was the thing. It was either she was at school and then I was home, and then she'd get off school and then I'd go to work till 4 a.m. And, you know, and so like we spent like 1 day a week together.
Non-fucking stop.
We spent 1 day during my time at Lono and all that stuff. We spent 1 day a week together. On Sundays, I had the day off. She had the day off. That was our time together.
And Josie was like, no, we're doing this. And you're like,
oh,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
TV.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like
TV.
I'd be thoroughly exhausted and then I'd just be like, fuck, man, like I got to go out and do something. So I would take my 1 day off and not really be a day off because I'm spending the whole day entertaining and you know, being the host again. But so having her home and being around her all the time, I realized just like what you said, like how your impatience and the mirroring my sarcasm.
She picked up on that.
Oh my God, she's
that's
a
great,
fucking
though.
monster.
But that's great because you want them. You want the kid that's gonna have that chutzpah, right? You want that. It's almost better. It would be so much easier for us as parents if our kids were just content to sit there and chew their cud all day, right?
Yeah.
But in the end of the day, we want dynamic grown-ups.
No, yeah.
It just means we have to front load it that much more.
No, yeah. She's a fucking. She throws fire at me, dude. I mean, and it's always. I mean,
I would pay good money to see that.
She always has something like just this morning. Just this morning, while I woke up, we're getting her ready for school. I drive her to school every morning, and she just goes, "Dad, can I bring my phone to school?" And I think I've spoken about this already, but she had just gotten her phone back yesterday after having taken away for almost a month after she brought a fucking knife to school.
Why'd you bring a knife to school?
Okay, that's a whole can of worms, but
that sounds like the worst.
Okay, it really fucking was because I had to leave work to go pick her up, and But it broke my fucking heart when I got there and I found out why she took a knife to school. The week before they were doing all of the active shooter drills. She thought that she needed to protect herself. So she found one of my pocket knives that I take to work to open boxes and shit and shoved it in her backpack.
Which is totally, I can understand how the teachers would view that as irrational, but like the whole fallacy of fucking active shooter drills, like it only serves to stress those kids out. And of course, a smart kid would be like, well, I'm going to protect myself.
Well,
and she probably got in trouble for it.
Yeah, she did. She got in trouble for it. But I also sat in the office with the principal and I was like, maybe you guys should think about how you talk to like I was like, do you talk to these kids at all before you start these drills? And they're like, well, no, not really.
Maybe you should.
And I'm like, well, obviously it's affecting them, you know?
That's what they did with fire drills.
Yeah.
Right? The first few years of fire drills, certainly when I was in schools, they're like, okay, we're going to have a fire drill and everyone just do this, do that. Okay, we're going to, the whole like surprise element, I understand, but that's treating kids like grown-ups. It's easier for the grown-up to put that on the kid rather than work with them as they understand.
Earthquake drills too. We had, especially in the desert, we had a ton of those because we're right on the fault lines and shit.
There's no earthquakes in New York.
Yeah, I know. You didn't have to fucking. You didn't have to deal with that shit. I begged for a snow day. I was like, will it ever get cold enough in the fucking desert, Mom?
My mom put my clothes in the dryer.
Oh, you get warm clothes?
Just to get warmed up, I put them on because that's how cold it was.
Fuck.
And it was uphill to school both ways.
Damn. That's awesome. I mean, and I say that's awesome because I was used to like, oh, it's going to be 120 today. Go fuck yourself. Oh, Mom, you want me to go play outside all day today? I'm about to have a goddamn stroke. Like, I don't know what, again, that's how it was when I was a kid. It was just like, here's $5. Go ride your bike or your skateboard with your friends. This is enough to, if you like make it down to the corner store, you can get yourself a water. Mm-hmm. And of course, we never fucking bought water. And then that just made the heat even worse because it was like, oh, if I spend 25 cents on this Shasta, then I can just buy a bunch of snacks and maybe save a few dollars for a pack of baseball cards or some shit. Mm-hmm. And my parents won't even know. And then by the end of the day, I'm calling my mom collect and not even waiting until she can accept the call. I'm just like doing the one. And it's like, will you accept a call from, I'm on the corner of Tampico. Please come get me.
That's amazing.
And then just praying that she actually did and wait there for like 45 minutes to see if anybody would come. And then I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to hoof it home then.
I gotta walk.
And, but yeah, dude. So yeah, Josie's wild. Like, so this morning she gets her phone back.
How old is she?
11.
Okay.
Yeah, she's graduating 5th grade or promotion. She's promoting from 5th grade this Monday.
Damn.
So she's going into middle school, dude.
What?
I know, it's fucking crazy.
You got her college plan figured out yet?
No.
Isn't that weird though? The pressure is like, okay, 5th grade. Okay, so we got to start thinking about what's she going to be in life.
Well, okay. Another sidetrack story. When I was in 6th grade, I remember this vividly. I'm sitting there with my dad, and he asked me, like, have you ever thought about what college you want to go to? And I told him in 6th grade, I was like, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to be in school any more than I have to. So by the time high school rolls around, and I think I'm in like 10th or 11th grade, and I say something to my dad about like, hey, I want to go to this film school. I've decided what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, you better start applying for scholarships because we don't have any money for you. We
can't afford that shit, yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you told me you didn't want to go to college. I was like, Dad, I was fucking 11. I was at the top 12. Like, you're really going to take my... So that was like a thing that I tried to hang over his head forever. And then he died from the guilt.
Oh, shit.
No, I'm kidding. He died from other things. Oh. But yeah, so she goes, hey, Dad, can I take my phone to school? And I was like, no. Like, you go to school for 3 hours a day. You don't need to have your fucking phone with you. Why? I mean, all my friends, they bring their phones to school. I was like, good for your fucking friends, kid. You're not taking your phone to school. I mean, and dude, she did not let up. Like this whole morning, the whole morning was an argument, and she is so quick. Anytime I came at her with something, she would just rebuttal. Really? And I'm like, fuck, dude, you're exhausting me. I just woke up.
Did she ever go subatomic when she was a kid? Like, as far as like tantrums and such?
Still does.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
that's something to look forward to then.
No. Well, okay. So Okay,
I got a radiation burn the last time my kid threw a tantrum.
Dude, okay,
I'm still getting over it.
From what I understand, when I worked at a bar back in Palm Springs, I had this group of teachers that used to come in right after school and get hammered. And they all worked at like the elementary and middle school in the area, and they would Bootlegger had a really great happy hour for the first 2 hours. Like it was like $5 for cocktails, $3 for beer and shit. So they just come get drunk. And this one old lady, I remember she used to sit at the bar all the time, and every time she got a little lit, she would tell me the exact same thing. I teach middle school. Do you know how awful middle school girls are? She'd be like, when they're 11 and 12, they're the fucking worst people in the world.
Oh, I still get PTS responses when I see roving packs of 12-year-old girls. I cover my junk and I'm like, oh God, please don't make fun of me. I've had my
so I'm in that with Josie right now. She's 11. And she just recently turned 11, and I'll tell you what, the attitude has turned up to 100. And I know that like TikTok and things like that don't help because that's all she wants to do.
Right.
And then she watches videos from like 18, 19-year-old girls with like their fucking attitude and their makeup and their dances and shit.
And she's parroting it.
Yeah, exactly. And then not only does she parrot them, but then she also parrots me. I'm just like, so I have two different versions of sass coming my way.
Well, look, your version of sass is good, I guess. I don't know. I've not received too much of it.
No,
I'm not one to be outsassed.
No, you're pretty good at it, dude.
He's already starting to. He's sharpening his sass talons.
Yeah, I mean, it's that age where it's gonna start happening more and more often, and you're just like, shit.
Yeah.
Because my problem is I always get to that point where I'm like, I want to say something and I want to be mad at you, but I also want to laugh.
And that's always what it is. Like on the inside, I'm like, my boy.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
outside, I'm like, you little weasel.
It's like I have
How
so much
dare you.
pride in what you're doing right now, but I can't show it because then you're just gonna pop off at everybody.
And kids have that ability of just honing in. She spent her 11 years under you as her, as your dad, and so she knows your buttons.
Yeah. Oh.
And she also knows like as the crow flies, the quickest way to get to those buttons.
She's also doing this thing lately where she lies about the most asinine things, and she knows she's gonna get caught in it, but she tries to keep it for as long as she can. Like she'll just wake up, walk downstairs, and I'll be like, all right, get dressed, brush your teeth, we gotta get ready for school. I already did. Josie, you just got out of bed. You didn't brush your teeth. You have an electric toothbrush. I didn't hear it. I did it. I brushed my teeth. They're brushed. Josie, I can smell your breath from across the room. Brush your teeth. No, I did it.
Yeah, she's hedging her bets.
I mean, she sticks to her guns to the point where she's like, "I told you I did it," and I'm like, "Whoa, bro,
so boring."
I can go touch your toothbrush and see that it's dry. Like you're not even good at lying. Like, and then I give her fucking ideas when I say shit like that.
It's the same thing with Henry. We've adapted to that. We're just like, you know what, Henry? We're bored. We're gonna do something else. We're trying to like Regina George him into like
nice doing
the right thing. Like, ugh, don't be boring.
Yeah, that's not hot. All right. So enough about our great children. So I have a segment that I call the Worst News Network, and I have usually a few topics that I bring up, and
all the news that's fits to scoop.
It's and actually this first topic, it's kind of right up our alley because it has to do with children.
Oh boy.
And you have a 6-year-old. So this is, I really want to get your opinion on this because there is a private school in New York that is teaching first graders about masturbation.
Wait, is it like a seminar? I mean, is it like a lab?
It's like,
or is it a lecture?
It's like a lecture mixed with an animated video. And the animated video was put out online, and it's fucking wild because, it's just, first of all, when I was in first grade,
jeez whiz.
I wasn't even thinking about, like, I don't remember, I can't remember that far back, but I don't think I was getting like morning wood where I'm like wondering why my penis is hard as a small child.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that early. But at the same,
or if it did, it was just sort of like, yay.
yeah. It's like, what are you doing,
and that
guy?
was it. Yeah.
And then you run outside, you run out and show your parents. You're like, what's going on? And they're like, just go fucking put it away.
Yeah. Just,
Oh, goddamn exhibitionist. And, but yeah, so they're teaching these kids about like, and I can't remember exactly, but there's, so and like it's in the cartoon video, it's this little kid and he's like, sometimes when I touch my penis, it feels funny. I know when I touch my pee-pee, and then the teacher comes in, he's like, well, we need to start calling we call them pee-pee because it makes it sound funny, but these are actually serious parts of your body, and it is actually called a penis.
Colonel Sanders? Was he?
Well, sorry, I was making up a voice, and
Isn't he on a registry?
He should be. But it was just wild to me because it's beyond creepy that there is an adult outside of the family that's talking to your child about touching their own privates.
And that's something they're going to figure out regardless. It's less important to like teach them about it and more so to like when they're old enough, when they're actually are starting to get a little more into it, that they understand what it is. But first grade. Yeah,
but isn't it? So, I don't know about you, but for me, it felt almost instinctual when it was that time. Just like,
yeah, and some kids mature faster than others. It's like, like some girls figured out in like the spin cycle, sitting on the washing machine, and dudes find it in gym class or climbing the rope or whatever else. I don't see the need to like put such a fine point on it, because now any kid who would have been like on the fence or like totally happy with like Pokemon or Minecraft is like, oh, I'm gonna beat it.
Just like,
check out this trick.
Like, no more video games for me, Dad.
Yeah.
You're gonna save some money, but you're gonna save some money now, but therapy bills later are gonna stack up. I saw that story and I was just like, Jesus Christ. Okay, so check this one out. A New Mexico sheriff was
gender reveal party.
Oh, and I saw one about that, but no, this is different.
So
New Mexico sheriff's running for mayor, and he was holding a rally, and somebody flew a drone over the top of the rally and just hovered it over him, and the drone had a giant dildo attached to it. And then on top of that, already kind of ruining his rally because no one was listening to what he said, somebody ran up on stage and tried to punch him in the face. So I don't think this guy's very well liked.
I was going to say, do we like him? Or is he just being the target of an unfair
it might be.
campaign?
I think, I don't know, maybe New Mexico really just swings towards the Republican side because it says it's the Democratic candidate.
Well, there's a lot of people moving from blue states to those redder states, especially New Mexico.
Yeah, and
working remotely, so I imagine there's
Texas is hot as fuck right now too.
Yeah,
not
for women,
dude. Texas, I can't tell you how many, because I know a few people that do comedy that moved down there because the clubs were open and stuff like that, and basically your first few months out there are just people telling you to go the fuck home. Like, they hate that Californians have taken over.
100%.
I mean, just absolutely just like, oh, you're from California? Are you visiting? Oh, you have a place here? Okay.
Cool. All right. Go over to that side of the street.
Yeah. All right. So this is where all you fucking Californians hang out.
It's because we all smell the same. We all smell like sunshine and avocados.
But I did hear that the homeless out there are fucking way more fun than ours.
Define fun.
Fun in like a crazy manner. Like, LA homeless most of the time, they just want the money so they can buy the drugs, and then they're happy until they get, need the more drugs. From what I understand from talking to a few people about the Austin homeless, is that they are out there just to like be weird and almost like creepy zombie type people.
They're the ones keeping Austin weird.
Yeah, they're like it's actually the homeless had made it their job. They're like, key to the city. We're gonna hold you guys to this shit. We're gonna keep it weird out here. And I wouldn't mind seeing it. I
don't know.
Sorry,
I would. That would almost scare me a bit more.
It has to be. It has to be a little bit more scary because like. They're there. They basically, he said that they're there to like fuck with you.
Sure. And like, whereas like most people in LA, I know like a lot of the homeless. I remember I saw one of the most interesting things that I'd seen. It was a homeless woman, I believe, pushing a shopping cart in Santa Monica years ago, and she had I pieced it together, but she had her headshots in her in the trolley in the cart. Like, I look at it, I'm like, it is totally her. She was a little dirty and such, but like you could tell there's something else going on. And like LA is a market where so many people are drawn to it because of what they think of themselves.
Oh yeah.
And so the homeless oftentimes, a lot of transplants couldn't hack it and didn't move back home or whatever else, and now they're under an overpass. It's just that to me is a bit. It's sad, right? The whole thing is sad, but it is just as terrifying. And I think if I met an Austin hobo, I would be very scared to be like, "Hey, you wanna stab something?" Or
like he's all want to come to my bonfire. Okay. Florida has the stand your ground defense,
which occasionally works.
The stand your ground defense was rejected in the murder of an iguana. So this guy is being charged. This guy's being charged for beating an iguana to death. But he tried to plead the stand your ground because he said that the iguana was viciously attacking him, and that's why he had to beat the iguana to death.
A wild iguana, or was it like his pet iguana?
A wild. There's a lot of wild iguanas in Florida.
How do you get arrested for that? Are they endangered species?
I don't know, but it just says that he got he stood trial for felony animal cruelty charge.
Nice.
And then he recently got denied on the defense that he used for stand your ground against the iguana.
He should have said iguana hire a lawyer.
Iguana plead the fifth.
There you go.
Yeah, dude.
Iguana jail.
I just some of these headlines, even though the story doesn't really tell me much, they're just too good of headlines. Like last week, another Florida case, a guy. He used this defense. And this one's still just like in my mind. He used this defense and he actually got off, but they're calling now the big dick defense.
I saw that. Yeah, this was 2018 though. It was an old article.
It was an old article.
Yeah, where he used the big dick defense in that she strangled to death.
Yeah, and he got off in more ways than one.
Ew. It would be super hard for me to finish if I realized that she was lifeless.
Yeah, but
bit of a bummer. If he finished after that, I'd be like, okay, this guy definitely goes on a registry.
We need to. There's some red flags there. If it was just like, all right, well, we still found something in her throat after you were done. But yeah, so I think that's gonna go down with like the Twinkie defense, that the guy used for when he killed Harvey Milk. We have the Twinkie defense. We have the big dick defense.
Yeah, two very different. Yeah, two different court cases.
Yeah, two different court cases. So, very unusual ways of defense. But
how do you did he have to like drop trowel?
See, that's what that was been my big question this whole time. Like, was there like a physician that had to come into the room where they're like, okay, we need to measure like from base to tip, and we need to do the girth thing, and we need to see like
ambient temperature, like how does it hang?
Yeah, or did he have to get erect first?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that would be the.
Imagine if there was a small dick defense and that they know they could get out of crimes if they just publicly admitted they had like an acorn glued to their undercarriage.
I mean,
how many people would actually go for it?
I would walk free every single time, sir.
I would walk free with my head hung low,
very low. My head would hang a lot lower than my dick does. Okay, so now I have just one question for you. It's a segment called What's Worse, and I only have one for you. We just went through a pandemic, so you already know what this feels like. So what's worse, never being able to leave the house ever again, or you're only allowed to make ends meet, like you're only allowed to support your family by winning cocktail competitions. So you have to travel to do that.
Never leaving the house.
That's worse, right?
No, winning. I would rather.
Okay.
I would rather.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no. Listen, I am no stranger to cocktail competitions.
Absolute champion.
I had my moments, right? I had my time, but that just with the pace of innovation and how such great lengths that people go to sort of top one another, I don't have what it takes.
It's fucking exhausting.
I respect, not like Adam Fournier, he did something that only a very select few American bartenders have done, and hopefully he's going to take the whole thing. But it is such a different hemisphere of the brain.
No,
and I think I realized in my bartending that I don't have that.
So
I made it as far as the regionals for Diageo, but
yeah.
I would have to come home drunken, hungover, smelling like an airplane to be like, sorry babe, I don't have any money, what's for dinner? That's not appealing to anyone.
No. I mean, okay, so
Maybe we have a nice house.
I just found out that there is going to be like a bartender competition series filmed for like Netflix or something.
Yes, yeah. They're casting for it. Yeah, totally.
I signed up.
Good.
I signed up.
Did you hear anything from production yet?
Not yet, but my whole thing was, because you have to submit like a 2-minute video on why you should be picked. My whole thing is, I mean, I don't really care about competitions, but I feel like you need an actual bartender, because I feel like based off the questions you're asking, you're only going to pick Instagram influencers with really pretty drinks.
But here's the thing: if they're doing it the right way, they're going to be able to weed those out ASAP. Like, you've got people that give amazing Insta pictures, but can't build speed round.
Well, or can't even build a balanced drink. Like, if you go to half these people that have like 30,000 followers for their beautiful pictures, and then they post the specs underneath, if you've been bartending for a long time, you know what that tastes like automatically, and you're just like, "Oh, like Jesus, shit. Yeah, what did you do? Why?"
You have to do a foot check after you finish that one.
Seriously though,
like,
attached. It's rough, and I just feel like there's going to be a lot of those casts for, being a personality on on Instagram and being able to take a good photo. But I really just want to kind of go in there, and my goal, if I was to be cast, is to go in there and be the heel.
Of course, yeah. Be the foil.
I really just want to go in there and stir shit up. Like, I just make people feel really, really down about themselves and rise my way to the top through doing that.
Yeah, through subterfuge and deception.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Great. Like,
yeah,
I want to. If I'm gonna do it, I want to play a game. I'm not gonna just be like, oh, my cocktail. I know I make good drinks, but also I know that, like, in my style of bartending has always been more simple route. Like, I don't go fucking extravagant. It's weird.
Yes, you do with your execution.
Yeah, but
I've been to your bars.
But also I try to use ingredients that anybody can get. Like, that's always been my thing. Is just like, you can make this at home.
So you're saying you didn't do the whole like butterfly, the pea flower trend? You didn't?
No.
Stick with blue curacao.
Yeah. Tried and true.
There you go.
People may hate, but
the original blue flavor.
Blue drinks are fucking fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into the worst. I had to. Okay,
Very
so
smooth.
Worst bar you've ever worked at?
The worst bar I ever worked at. I've been very fortunate to work at some really good bars. But if I had to boil it down, the very first bar I worked at was a place called Star Foods in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And it was amazing at the start. But my start, all the good staff had already left and it was already on the downhill slope. And every week there was a new shit modifier that was showing up. Like, the owner, the 80% owner, had a son, a nephew or something who, came in from Israel, ex-military, and needed a job. What he didn't realize was that he drank through their profits, doing drugs, tried to screw it was basically just, he was the bull in the china shop.
Yeah.
And then they started distrusting the employees, so we lost a lot of the good ones. They weren't promoting properly. We had like a hip hop night, and they brought out bottles of Hennessy and charged fucking $14 a shot for it. Really like bullshit.
Yeah.
That whole, and I saw it was just like a textbook example of like how to be a complete fucking short-sighted business owner and like casual racists. Like,
yeah, no,
all that stuff. And I worked my way up the ranks. I started out as a busser, then a runner, then expo, back waiter, server, barback, bartender. So like in the span of 2 years, full, soup to nuts. But that whole process, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I became the senior most employee at one point, which is like, dude, I've been doing this for 2 years. I'd done like catering stuff before then, but it was just watching this slow decline. There was wage theft. There was, the ticket times were getting out of control. It was like a rotating door for the chef. But like, it was also when in its heyday, it was amazing. We saw TV on the radio before they blew up. They played at Star Foods.
That's cool.
A lot of other places, Ghost Town Observatory, a lot of acts that went on to do huge fucking things. Like that was when the Lower East Side was fun.
That's sad. I mean, that's the thing too. It was like, it doesn't matter how bad, like you can hindsight like that fucking bar was a disaster, but there's always that thing where it's like, kind of had a good time working there though. It's almost that like, you love your abuser the whole time you're being abused.
The total Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Yeah. But that's just it. We're pleasers, right? We're in the industry to please other people and keep our pants on at the same time. There's aspects of every bar I've worked at that I'm like, if I were to do like a Frankenstein's monster of all those bad things, that would be the worst place.
Yeah.
Because there was no perfect gig.
No. There's no such thing as a perfect gig. Like, I mean, even when you even when you're hired from the very beginning and like, hey, you're going to set up this whole program, and you're just like, wow, that's a dream. Like they're giving me full, but then at the end of the day, it's just like, there's always something that's going to happen where It's just like, I feel I've never owned my own bar, but I feel like that happens too. It's just like, you're like, hey, I'm going to do everything my way. But then, reality sets in.
There's two things. There's what you plan on doing and there's what you end up having to do.
So yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect gig, but some of them are just way worse than others. Dude, I
will say actually the worst bar I ever worked at, one of my favorite things, Mixology 101. They put the fucking ice machine in the walk-in fridge. So the exhaust meant that the freezer couldn't freeze anything, and there was so much water damage on the floor. And I'm talking to them, I'm like, guys, this can't, you gotta at least have the compressor somewhere outside. They're like, this is fine. Well, this is where it fits. Because it's playing in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it was so many horrendous decisions made in that place, and they gave me my first 2 panic attacks. And I will never, ever forget it.
Dude, that's so wild.
Fucking ice machine. That's fun. All this heat, all this
ice,
exhaust.
it works, That's fucking crazy. Okay. For people that don't know, you were a part of a televised cocktail competition.
Yes.
What would you say was the worst thing about that being on that competition? Like, was it backstage shit? Was it actually just doing it? Was it the fact that it was a vodka competition? I want to know.
The vodka part wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. It was basically a pilot program. No one had ever done anything like it. The first season was online only, and it was like 20 10-minute episodes, right? Or something. It was just and they filmed it over like 3 days. It was done.
It was called On the Rocks.
On the Rocks, Search for America's Top Bartender. But this was the first year that it was LXTV, which is a subsidiary of NBC that's since shuttered.
Mm-hmm.
But it was going to be 3 episodes with, I think, 6 challenges. And the production was great, right? And this is really where I started to get to know Simon. He was the one who got me to audition and everything, and led to amazing things. But production was kind of figuring out their stride. They were very competent, like everything was happening the way it should, but the egos that were getting involved. There was one judge whose name I will not mention, but I think they went into it expecting one thing, to be like the center of attention. And they basically threw a shit fit when they realized things weren't going to work out the way that they did. So they postponed the basically final 2 challenges, because actually, no, the final challenge, they were supposed to tell us right then and there who was going to make it to the finals, but they had to pivot because it was in Vegas. And so one of the venues that we were doing the challenge at, where he threw the shit fit, they had to just literally sit around and watch their time run out. They called an audible, and they're like, we're not going to tell you who won. We'll see you in 4 hours. For who's going to be the 2 finalists. There's 3 of us left. And they're like, we're not going to tell you. So the poor, that means there was one guy out of the 3 of us, poor bastard, who was going to be let down after a 4-hour afterburn.
Yeah.
Which is, it's inhuman. I understand the value, certainly from like the reality TV thing, to like let people sweat it out on camera a little bit.
On camera.
But that's just, we were all, it was a big prize. None of us really had a name yet. We wanted to like get that out there, and having to wait around for 4 hours and then showing up to the challenge just to like not do it was fun. When it happened, it fucking sucked. It sucked. But the crew was really good. The competitors, I'm still in touch with a bunch of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sort of. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people sort of moved on to do different things. But
real estate agents.
real estate agents. That's happening a lot.
So
You
much.
saw that meme about
I
like,
saw
you know,
that
the
meme.
bartender,
Man,
manager, brand advocate, real
estate
estate. Yeah.
but yeah, dude, that's and I must say that you did almost perfectly navigating around even saying if that was male or female of the person that was saying having a hissy fit. You said they almost every single time, but I caught one he. So I'm gonna figure it out later.
It's okay. There's two he's.
Okay, I'm still gonna figure it out which one it was.
Ain't that hard to tell.
Yeah, I just need to go back and see who they were because I don't remember. I watched literally one episode that you did, and that was on the internet. Can you think of like your worst night out drinking, like just a night that was just a complete shit show, or even a day drunk? And is it at Tails? Because I feel like a lot of these are.
Well, no, listen, Tails. Yes, every night at Tails was a shit show. The very first time I met the man who was to be my brother-in-law, he knew that I was dating his sister, and he put the screws to me to a degree that I was so hungover. And I missed everything that I had on my schedule the next day. Couldn't do it. I finally was able to scrape myself out of bed at 4 p.m. I stumbled down to the lobby of the Hotel Monteleone. I was a dead man walking, and I went I had to basically find a bathroom because I had an empty stomach. I still had so much alcohol in my system. I didn't know if I had to shit or barf. And so I started, I'm like, nope, that's barf. And it was just the worst. And I saw him and he was like, but like, that was, I think, what sort of endeared it to me. Like, he was just like, rookie.
Yeah.
Those were all sort of accepted. I've been fortunate enough to not cause too much ruckus. The first staff party we had for the Edison, when the Edison was top of the pops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were, that was a big program back in the heyday, right? It was right when the scene was cresting. We went to, they fed me, I was late to the dinner. So they fed me 8 Maker's shots when I sat down to catch up. I'm like, what could possibly go wrong? And, having 8 shots over a long period of time, but like the spike was such where I was like, I knew something was going to happen. I was I'm so gracious. I'm so grateful that I'm a happy drunk and like a happy jovial. I picked up my friend Arthur on the dance floor at One Sunset or something. And he's a big dude, about as big as you. And like, I picked him up and I was just like, I'm just so happy to see you. And at some point, I don't know what it was. The next day he calls me up. I'm like, hey Art, what's up, man? He's like, yeah, we gotta talk about last night, man. I'm like, what happened? He's like, well, you tore my jacket. Apparently I was so aggro and happy to see him that I tore his front pocket like practically off. I'm like, and like, I was like, that explains why the security guard came up to me and asked me to cool it down.
Yeah.
Because like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Just having a good time, man.
When it hits me that hard, and unfortunately I didn't spend a lot of time in Hollywood joints like that, so I didn't have to show my face in there again. But like nights like that,
yeah,
every now and again.
I mean, it happens. And you're right though. It's good that you're like a jovial, you're a happy, you're a jolly drunk, because I know too many people that just turn dark.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that like I go to a point of being happier and more talkative, but once I go past that point, I just shut off and I stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah, you going nonverbal is never a bad thing, but it's an indicator. It's like when the button pops up on the turkey.
Yeah.
The worst I've ever felt though was the night after I ate a bunch of Korean barbecue, which is like salt loaves, basically delicious salt loaves. And I chugged a bunch of beer, and I went out after that, and I think we were drinking a bottle of Highland Park 12 at an after hours club until like 4:00 in the morning. I make it home, and like when I go to sleep that drunk, I'm snoring, I'm taking the covers, I'm not a good husband. And I woke up to my wife. She was standing on the bed, ceiling fan right there, spraying house spray, looking at me like, you fucking monster. Because when you have that much shit in your system, first off, you're so dried out from all the salt and whatever else, it just is coming out of every pore. And I made the place smell like a sweat sock. Like it was like a boozy, shitty sweat sock.
Dude. It just like that peaty, mossy, like
everything just coursing its way through every pore.
Yeah, and then on top of that, just like meat sweats on top of that, and yeah, that's a good one. Worst sexual experience.
Jesus, I mean, I've had a bunch. I lost my virginity in a very robotic way. didn't try to fuck a robot, but it was basically like this girl that I grew up with. Or like, should we just try? See what happens?
I mean, go for it.
That was basically what it is, and it sucked. It totally threw off my expectation for all that. But then once I was on the path, there's some good stuff. There's some bad stuff. There's one girl who almost felt like I almost broke it off. The gyrators. Right? It's kind of tough. I'm sort of like, hey, don't bend it.
Yeah, no, it hurts.
Yeah,
it hurts.
I mean, which I'll take as a compliment. At least she was, or maybe she was faking it, which probably more often than not the case. But it seemed like she was enjoying it.
Dude, there's this one time when I had taken a girl home and I was so hammered and I was just like, I'll be right back. And I go into the bathroom and I had to piss, but I was too fucking drunk to stand up and piss. So I sat down on the toilet and I then fell asleep sitting on the toilet.
Oh, no.
But that wasn't even the worst. I actually threw up while I was sleeping.
Oh, no.
So I just... luckily she didn't come check on me because I was in the bathroom with the door shut and I hardly knew her.
Right.
So my homie who lived with me came, he knocked on the door and he was like, yo, and I didn't answer. So he opened the door and there I am sitting there and it's just like,
proper.
I puked on my own dick.
Nice. Hey,
I
listen,
mean, it's a talent.
If someone's gonna, it might as well be
me, right?
I slept with a girl once. It was a horrible, drunken, regretful event, and I woke up and I'm a big sweater when I drink.
Yeah, me too.
And I woke up, I'm like, oh my god, it's soaked. I'm like,
I'm glad it's not only a fat guy thing.
I'm a big dude. I've got the heft. I was like, wait a second, oh my god, and she rolls over and goes, sorry. We had both drunk so much that she had pissed the bed.
Oh, shit. You thought it was, it's like, I'm sweaty. It's fine.
I was going to give her the benefit of the doubt, but then apparently it's something she'd done before. It's...
I mean, I lived with a dude who literally pissed the bed every single time he got drunk. I mean, a lot of piss. Like, there was one time I walked into his room where it was the entire outline of his body was wet. Like, he's just drained everything out of himself. What would you say is the worst thing about where you grew up, and where did you grow up?
Okay, so I tell everyone that I grew up in Manhattan, but we didn't move there full time until I was like 8 or 9. Prior to that, the town that I was born in was called Tuxedo Park. It's where they invented the tuxedo jacket, right? It's super fancy.
Go figure.
And like, I'm not that. I grew up that way, and I certainly don't make that kind of bank. The worst thing about that place was basically everything that's wrong with society, where it's basically just a bunch of super ultra rich, 99% white people, some old money, mostly new, and country club rules.
Oh, dude.
Par excellence. I mean, you had to, in order to get into the park when my dad got in, you had to, first off, have everyone on the planning committee, the board, vote yes on you. If one person out of, I think it was like the number was around 16 to 20 people, if you got one no,
Jesus,
couldn't reapply for a year.
Wow.
So it was entirely dependent on the structure of like how you fit into it and how much are you willing to change yourself to mold, to fit the mold. Do you play tennis? No. Better start learning. You wear golf whites? No. Better start. And seeing the trickle down. I was just talking about this with my friend. Like the trickle down of it is that there was a lot of really fucking toxic dads. They were these men in the 80s in that whole boom making all the money in the world, right? My dad included, but at the expense of their families. So like there were no dads. I have very few recollections. It was all the moms, right? We were basically raised by the village of moms, but the problem, the power, the power. What's the word I'm trying to say? Dimension. The power balance was way askew.
Okay.
Right, where like these men, a lot of these men were like keeping their wives at home so they could do whatever the fuck they wanted to in the city, and then come back and well, I got to go play tennis, so you play with the kid, and like you've got these kids growing up without a sense of family unit or healthy, sober parents.
Yeah.
It fucking sucked. Almost every kid I know ended up going through a divorce. Or like the dad remarried the secretary or something. Just fucked up shit.
My wife and I were just talking about this because I can't remember what movie we were watching, but it was just like it was such a big thing in the 80s and 90s of like the powerful dude cheating on with a secretary that it was in so many movies. And it was a real thing. Like, I mean,
that's like an old world European paradigm. That was the goal. That was the promised land. If you're a man, if you're a real man, you find a good woman, you make her your wife, you have amazing babies, and you go find a mistress. That was it, right? That was what would set you apart from the average dude. And it fucking sucks. Now thank God we're coming up to this reckoning. But like, easily the worst part about the place I grew up is that.
No, yeah, I mean,
that and I suck at tennis.
No, well. You know, I was always bad at tennis too, and my grandfather lived tennis. Like as long as two grandpas, polar opposite of each other. One was a fucking carpenter who wanted to work until he died, and the other one was retired for as long as I knew him. Mm-hmm. And the one that was retired, I mean, just lived and breathed tennis. He was fucking, a 65, 70-year-old man that was still like when like the U.S. Open or whatever the hell we had in the desert version of it would come, he would be a ball boy still, like just to be on the court and in the game, you know?
Sure.
And yeah, he definitely tried to get me to play tennis a lot. And I would play, but I was not good. I did get good at golf, though. Number 5 golfer in Southern California when I was 12.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but that was another thing that I threw away because it was like, this is what my dad wants me to do, and I'm not going to do it.
I had a good drive. Short game sucked.
See, I actually had like a fucking strong short game. I could chip the ball like no fucking other.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you win some, you lose some. Yeah. And I just chose the wrong path and became a bartender.
You and me both.
But my other grandpa was super rad. He, like I said, wanted to work till he died. He was an old Jew from New York who claimed he would tell everybody that he was the second coming of Jesus because he was a blue-eyed Jewish carpenter.
Hey.
Yeah, he would tell. I mean, that was his favorite joke to tell people. I am Jesus.
It's good icebreaker.
You know, I just people. There's people that take it certain ways, and there's other people that will understand where he's coming from. But
worth a gamble.
Yeah, and when I was a little kid, I never fucking got it. I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But as I got older, I was like, oh, okay, I get it, Grandpa.
There's a great T-shirt making the rounds on Instagram that says, "I'm the drug addict that Jesus died to save."
I like that. I just that's pretty good. I like it. Okay, so there's the last segment of the show is a newer segment, and it is called "Are You the Worst?" Now I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and depending on how you answer them, we'll tally up the score. I mean, not really tally. It's not like a game show, but we'll just
you trust your gut.
We'll just quietly say it in our heads, like, God, this guy's a real piece of shit. Have you ever stolen from your parents?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, dude, everyone has said that one so far, and I'm so glad no one's lied to me because you're fucking lying if you haven't at least taken one thing from them.
Yep.
Money, drugs.
Yep.
I mean,
drugs. They didn't really have any fun drugs.
No,
I was never into weed. Dad had some old weed from his like the 70s, but
yeah, no, dude, especially the old weed. Ugh.
Fucking garbage.
Yeah. So I started in first grade. I used to steal my mom's rings and give them to girls that I thought was pretty.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for that. I got in more trouble for that than stealing my dad's cocaine when I was 20.
Holy shit.
Which was a trip. I talked about this in the last one, but it was a trip to. I went into his drawer thinking that I was just gonna find the stash of pain pills that he had, and I ended up finding a bullet full of blow. I was like, Dad, you're in your 50s now, and you're restarting this shit. I was like, I'm gonna take this from you just to save your life, and
let this be a lesson to you.
Now I'm gonna go show my friends, and we're gonna have a good day. Have you ever lied to your spouse?
Yes. Oh God. Yeah. And she knows it. Like I've since come clean, but the whole getting on board the marriage train, I had a pretty steep learning curve. And for me, growing up in a place like that, it was always like, never let them, always have them talk to the secretary. Don't let them get through to the office.
Yeah.
And so a lot of mistakes that I made in our relationship when we were dating was just being shady about shit like money and stuff. Just wasn't ready to open it up to her. And she, eventually found out and had to deal with that. But
no, yeah. I would say,
I'm just going to say I am the worst. Like we don't need to tally up any score. I'm just going to tell you.
See, I like this because I'm very honest about me being the worst. And, and I've actually had somebody on here who was, a flawlessly great person. And I was kind of.
Or a good liar.
You know what? I actually believe her. And it always amazes me that like it makes me get one in my feelings about like, damn dude, am I really that bad? But then I get people on here like you, and it makes me feel better.
It's the most important thing is to be the second slowest person running away from the tiger.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely spent the first like 6 years of my marriage lying to my wife, and she knows it. And you know, I still feel bad for it because it was just like. It was one of those things where I was just being selfish.
Right, like that was the hill we were gonna die on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
really,
Oh yeah. No,
like,
dude, I was ready to fight it to the bitter end, and then it was just like, you know what? I've been caught in this so many fucking times that you're right. I'm sorry. Let's fight about this for a while, and then I'm gonna try to be a better person. Have you ever been a bully?
I think I have. Because I was bullied so much as a kid that when I finally came into my own, college-ish, I started doing a little bit of that. At least, or maybe if I wasn't a bully, I was a hurtful snob.
So I was gonna say you were either a bully or been bullied because your wit is too quick to not have been either.
It's the wedgies really up that.
Like just being able to respond to somebody when they're talking shit to you, like in a fast manner, and hopefully driving something at them that stuns them enough to back them off, or just being the guy that is the one harping on somebody. You usually are fast about coming up with what you're gonna say, and I mean that's something
Thanks,
that
man.
yeah. No, absolutely. That's something that when I was little, it was a defense mechanism against my older cousin who used to beat the shit out of me all the time. And then I reapplied that to bullying smaller kids, so I definitely was both.
It's not that I bullied younger kids. I bullied people who I perceived were weak.
Well, yeah.
And that was my own sort of projection being like, well, fuck you. I'm going to take this.
Yeah. No, I'm
not some sicko that preys on little people, you little children, you.
No, yeah, I only people at least 5 years younger than me or midgets. That's all I dealt with.
Yikes.
Have you ever cheated on someone?
Yeah, the whole like pre-marriage life, I was a complete and total dog. I mean, the bartending thing, the narcissist thing, like yeah. It's hand in hand with being deceitful.
We tend to get very into ourselves.
Of course. Especially if we had like a rough upbringing, you're like, fuck that, I'm going to take mine. And like when I came to college, I was a total bull in a china shop. I'm sure I in the worst possible way got a name for myself.
Yeah.
That I'm still, not like dealing with it, but it's definitely looking back on it, it's like, oh man.
Did you have a college nickname?
It was never to my face.
Okay.
Whatever it was. I'm sure it was pretty accurate, but yeah.
Have you ever been a bad friend?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
I am the worst. I've been a bad friend. 100%. I've not written letters when people have asked me to. I've not called people. It's my own, I can make all sorts of excuses for it, but like, yeah, man, I've so many times put my own selfish, insecure needs over the others. I'm only just now, like, as I'm a dad and a husband, like realizing the importance of like, just check in.
Yeah. No.
Stick to your word.
Yeah. Those are the two big things. Stick to your word and check in. And I dealt with a lot of that too. Like where it was just like, I'm going to use my kid as the excuse for not doing this today.
Yeah.
And, all right, so
you're not going to air this, are you?
So Joseph Brooke is the worst, and we have to end this episode now. Joe, quickly, if you want to tell anybody what's going on with anything you've got going on, follow you on anything. Do you have any events coming up, anything like that? If not, just say fuck it, and we'll say goodbye.
Well, Joe from Ford's. If I ever got my shit together and posted shit online, that would be where I would post it.
You post stories occasionally now.
Occasionally, yeah. Occasionally work related, but drink Ford's gin, drink Old Forester whiskey, and watch the skies.
Word, mazel everyone. See you later.